Okay, so this is a 2006 Cadillac STS. I wanted to give some tips for those of you who are having intermittent no start concerns, specifically those due to a dead battery. And I'm not sure if this impacts all of the STSs. I'm guessing probably just the ones with this base level radio. As you can see, this is not a nav radio. There are at least two different base radios, one with a 6-disc changer and one with a single disc. So I don't know if it impacts both of them. The problem radio for me was the single disc. But so what was happening was the previous owner of the car had replaced the battery and to try to fix a no start, and it seemed like it still needed jumping. And sure enough, when I got it, it would intermittently be completely dead. And when I say dead, I mean after 2 days the battery was at 6 volts. So for those of you who know how car batteries work, 6 volts is a very dead battery. That means that not only was there a parasitic drain, but it was more than a drain. It was a pour. I know that sounds stupid, but anyways, so it sucked the life out of the battery basically. And I needed to get to the bottom of that, because you just cannot do that to a lead acid battery over and over again, or else it'll kill it. So I did a parasitic drain test. This is a side post battery, so it's a little bit trickier. I'm not going to show you how to do that. There's other videos on that. Also, it's good to know that the fuse boxes you'll need to access are under the rear seats. You can't see it because there's tires there. And there's also a video on how to get to those. So anyways, I did the parasitic drain test, and immediately I saw an 800 milliamp draw from the battery with the car sitting. So I did it properly. The car was asleep, all the doors were open, and all the latches had been triggered into thinking they were closed. The hood, the car thought the hood was closed. You have to do all these things. And after 3 hours, I still had an 800 milliamp draw. And you should not have more than a 50 milliamp draw. So that was very significant. So I started pulling fuses. And as you know, you cannot put the fuses back in when you're doing that test. You need to leave them all out. So as I was pulling them all out, and by the way, you can't do that because if you put a fuse back in, it can wake up the module. Just FYI. Anyway, so as I started pulling them, I wasn't getting very far with the parasitic drain until I got to the radio OnStar fuse. And when I pulled the radio OnStar fuse, my parasitic drain almost disappeared. So I was very confident that I had found that. That's such a significant draw, and to see it disappear like that was pretty definitive. So the issue with that is that there are two modules on that circuit. It's the radio OnStar fuse, and they are separate modules. You have the radio here, obviously, and then you have the OnStar module, which is in the trunk on the passenger side. So I went to go unplug the unplug the OnStar fuse, or the OnStar module, to see if that fixed the issue. And when I went back there, I found that somebody had already unplugged it. So that means someone had already tried to trace this issue likely and unplugged that OnStar module and had no luck. And on this car, it's not a big deal to unplug the OnStar module because I don't use OnStar anymore and I don't have Bluetooth or anything. So that module controls the Bluetooth and like the voice activation and that sort of thing, I think. Didn't really matter to me, so I didn't really notice it was unplugged until then. But regardless, I still had the parasitic drain. So I got my Tech 2 and we hooked it up, and I just wanted to scan to see if we had any codes that could help direct me to there being a radio issue. And I'll see if I can show you a snapshot of the Tech 2 here. I'm not sure, I don't have a lot of editing skill. But when I plugged in the Tech 2, I saw that we had two things. One, OnStar module, no communication, no surprise there. And then I also had a B1000 radio code, and the symptom is B1000 with the symptom 00, I can't remember. But either way, the symptom code was EEPROM failure, internal. So that means that the radio had detected that there was an internal fault, and if you go through the service information, you trace down, if you go through the pinpoint test of the B1000 code for the radio, it is like 3 steps. It says confirm the code is there. I don't know, maybe it's even 2. It's confirm it's in the radio and replace the radio. There's no tearing apart the radio. There's no test the circuit. It's just, if you've got this code, the radio's dead. So it looked like that was our issue. And I think the important thing here that I wanted you guys to know is that I had no radio issues. I had no errors on the dash. I had no problems with the radio working. It worked perfectly. The screen worked great. There were no little error signs on it. All the buttons worked. So I did not see that until I had hooked up the Tech 2. So a lot of you don't have Tech 2s, and AutoZone is not going to see that code. That's a very odd code. So if you've got a friend with a Tech 2 and you've got this kind of issue, definitely hook it up and see if you can see if you've got that code in there. I would not recommend digging too deep into it until you check that first. Of course, you should make sure that it is in fact the radio circuit that's having the draw. This isn't necessarily the, oh, if your battery's dying, it's the radio, but if your battery's dying and you've got a draw from the OnStar radio circuit, this is a possibility. So once I found that B1000 code, I went to a salvage yard and pulled the radio. This is actually the old one. This is the new one here. It's really easy to get out. You just use a trim tool to pull up, starting at the bottom of both sides of this trim, and you just work your way up, and eventually this trim comes out. I'm not going to show you. I'm sorry, it's don't have time, but it's really simple. And then there are 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a couple connectors on the back. But there's something else really important you need to know, in that these are learned to the VIN, so you cannot just plug it in and go. If you just plug it in and you start the car, it's going to be Theftlocked. It's going to say Theftlock here, and you're going to be out of luck. The only way to unlock that is with well, it depends on what year STS you have, but I have a 2006, so I would still use the Tech 2. But using the Tech 2, I was able to unlock it. And for those Tech 2 users out there, be aware that when I went into the radio settings to clear it, and the moment I clicked on radio, it said, hey, do you want to clear the Theftlock information? I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Clear that. But it did not work. I did it 10 times in a row, trying multiple things, plugging back in the OnStar module, unplugging, replugging the radio, cycling the key over and over. But no matter how many times the Tech 2 would say, do you want to clear it? I'd say yes, and it'd say Theftlock cleared, cycle the key. I would cycle the key, and it never would be un-Theftlocked. Very frustrating. The only thing I found to work was on accident. I was with my friend. We were using Tech 2 Win at the time, so we weren't using a real Tech 2. We were using the MDI and the Tech 2 emulator. But anyways, when we were using that, he just clicked into the navigation radio instead, which this car is not equipped with, but he clicked on navigation radio and it said, do you want to clear Theftlock? I said yes, and boom, it was on Theftlocked. That was very odd, but so if you're using the Tech 2 or similar, definitely try just messing around with pretending the car has a navigation radio. And no, this car did not come with a nav radio when it was new. So that is just an error in the Tech 2 programming there, or it's something odd going on with my car. I did not note this. I did not have to learn the VIN to this radio. This radio actually still is VINless. I'm not sure if it's considered an unlocked radio, but the fact is that all I had to do was unlock the Theftlock. I never actually did a VIN relearn because I didn't really want to touch it at that point. It was working, so I just left it. I didn't do a VIN learn because I didn't want to lock it again. But so yeah, that's what I found to be the solution. These radios may be a little bit tricky to find. Definitely recommend trying to find one in a salvage yard. But unfortunately, they're pretty much all going to be Theftlocked. Maybe you can get one online, like factory1radio.com. But anyways, I hope this helps out. Let me know if you have any questions on this. I know there's not any very interesting visuals in this, but I'm just trying to give you guys some info to help you out, not make anything and not show you anything pretty. We'll see if the car starts. How's that? Yeah. Still working. Anyways, all right, let me know if you want to know anything else. See ya.